Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray, brought to you proudly by Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, Barton Power Sports, Sportsman's Warehouse, and Best Care Home Services.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray. Hello, all you folks out in Brownsville, Tennessee, and Jackson, Tennessee, and all of West Tennessee, and North Mississippi, and East Arkansas, the Missouri, Boot Hill. Talking outdoors every Saturday morning for 90 minutes, the fastest 90 minutes in outdoor radio programming. And Guy Trebo, my webmaster for lroutdoors.com, is sitting with me, keeping me propped up this Saturday morning and doing a good job of that. Thank you, Guy.
You're welcome.
And, of course, our regular co-host, Frank Barton, is out in Oregon at the Master National Retriever, and he's going to be reporting back in later in the show. But got a guest on right now that's man, I don't know how he remembers when he's home and not home and things along that line. But one of those Americans who has succeeded in his chosen sport. He's been on Outdoors with Larry Ray before, and that is Vincent Hancock out of Fort Worth, Texas, who's recently won the gold in Korea. He's a two-time Olympic champion, and best of all, he's a member of the Team Beretta Shooters, which you guys know that I have a real fond love affair with the folks at Beretta. Some people think I was born when they were born, back in the 1500s or wherever it was in Italy. But great to have Vincent on with us this morning. Good morning, Vincent.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for taking time from your busy schedule. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about you've had so much success and experience and things along that line. I think you remember telling me one time that you were like 10 years old when you got this urge to be a competitive shooter, if I'm not mistaken, and now you're representing us in countries like China and Korea and places like that. Give our listeners a little feel of what it's like to be Vincent Hancock right now.
Well, honestly, it's just a normal feeling. I'm just a normal guy, which thankfully I've got a really good family that's helped me to remember to stay humble no matter where I go or what I do. But for me, it's been a whirlwind. It really has. This year especially was pretty full. I had several competitions here in the U.S. And I traveled overseas 4 or 5 times, or it may even be 6 times by now. But it was a really good season. I competed in 3 World Cups and World Championships for ISSF this year and won all of them. So
not bad.
That was my best year so far, and hopefully I can keep that up for the next 2 years.
Well, I know that you talked about your family and your wife, Rebecca. You got 2 girls, right?
Yes, sir.
And so
8 and 6.
Yeah, and I like what it says, and you said on your website, which really hit home to me, that my dedication to God, family, country, and sport. You got sport last there. I mean,
yes, sir. That's honestly the way that it goes for me now. Before, when I was a teenager, I was getting into the sport, and I won my first world championship, and I won my first Olympic medal at 19. That's all that my life was about, and I didn't understand that there was anything outside of the shooting sports or outside of sport in general, really outside of myself, if I'm being honest. And as I've gotten older, as my wife and I, we've been married 10 years this year, and obviously we have 2 kids.
Yeah,
things have changed for me. I've become a believer in Christ. That's been over 10 years ago now, and just everything that's been involved in kind of the transition from being just an athlete to also being a family man, to being a husband, a father, and as well as an athlete. Those things take precedence first, and it's helped me be a better athlete.
Well, I know, as you probably I've told you, I'm a great man of faith, and when you have a platform that you can share that with wherever you might be, whether it's 25 people around you or 25,000, wherever it might be, you try to be who you want to be. And I know when I think back and I read this press release and I realize what went on in Korea and the amazing things that you did, 125 targets. Whoa, oh, man, give me a break. And then coming back, I understand in the rain, significant rain, it tells me here, that you had a score of 59 out of 60, equaling the world record. I bet you remember only one shot in that whole time, and that's the one you miss. I mean, that's Am I right?
It kind of is, because it was such a blur. Because when it says significant rain, it's not kidding.
Really?
We were in monsoon season, so it was.
Oh man!
And a couple of the fields, thankfully, we had some covers back behind a couple of the stations that we could stand under, but that was it. Everything else were out in the rain and
oh my goodness,
just getting soaked.
Yeah.
But I was able to. What really worked out for me was because the rain was so heavy and the clouds were so dark, it made the visibility great. Because the targets they looked like trash can lids because they were so big and bright orange.
Oh my goodness!
So it made it better for me.
Made it better in the monsoon. So that's and I know you've competed in all sorts of weather and things along that line. So let's get in the head of Vincent Hancock. When you're there and you're shooting these targets, I've asked this to Kim Rhodey, Katuna Lorig, all these great shooters that have been on this show over the 17 years, and I've asked them, what goes through your mind when you're competing?
Well, for me, it's changed, and it has evolved over the years. Before, I was consumed by winning, and now I have more of a passion of just being able to go out and compete. Now, my expectation is always, and always will be, to win, but at the same point in time, I lost my love for going out there and competing several years ago, back in 2011.
Yeah.
And I had to try to find it again. And about a couple of years ago, after I took time off of after the 2016 Rio Olympic Games,
yeah,
I kind of found myself again. I found a passion for shooting. So I've been able to find that fun again.
Really?
Which has been invigorating. It's been awesome. Probably one of the better experiences I've ever had in my life.
Well, hey, Vincent, let me ask you this: Did your, because of having a family, you have a wife and kids, and your priorities change? Did that factor in, like that time period where you lost the passion for it? Did that conflict with what you were going through at that time, kind of readjusting to a different lifestyle?
It was, because 2011 was the year that was my really big down year, and that was my first child was born in August of 2010, and then my second child was born in February of 2012. So they're 18 months apart.
Yeah,
and it was just kind of things stacked on top of each other. I wanted to be home, but the Army was pulling me a bunch of different places, doing PR events and different things like that, and I had no control over my schedule.
Yeah.
So I was at the whim of whatever they wanted me to do, and not being able to be a husband and a father.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big reasons why I had such a hard time. And the same thing happened a little bit in 2016 as well, because I went really hard in 2015, had a good year, but I was gone just a ton that year.
Too many times. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I lost that passion a little bit. And 2016 was hard for me to get through. And then once I took 7 months off after Rio.
Yeah.
And when I came, I didn't even touch my gun for 7 months.
Wow.
And when I came back, it was like I was a whole new person again.
Wow.
And I started shooting better. And you think that an athlete taking that much time off, that you're going to have a significant amount of time to get back to where you want to be. I was shooting better than I was in all of 2016 within 2 weeks of starting back.
That's amazing. Well, it's not really amazing when you think about it and when you have your priorities in there. Again, we're talking to Vincent Hancock, World Gold Cup winner and all these other things. And I know coming out of Georgia, tell our listeners a little bit quickly about how you got to be what you're doing now, because I know the military was part of your life. So explain that to our listeners.
Well, I started shooting when I was 10 years old. My dad and my brother were both competitive shooters when I was little.
Yes.
And then when they got out of it, they took a few years off, and my dad got me involved at 10, and I found the Olympic discipline when I was 12. And with that, I got to go to Atlanta, where they held the 96 Olympics at, and shot the first day. I'm like, man, Dad, this isn't that hard. I shot really good.
Yeah.
Came back the next day, couldn't hit anything.
Oh.
And that was the day I on our drive back home, I told my parents that I wanted to go to the Olympics and I wanted to win a gold medal. And it was kind of just it became a passion, and it became a path for me to be able to take and go and be able to do something that I never thought I'd be capable of doing. I've been to over 24 countries now because of shooting. And as a poor Georgia boy, growing up in the middle of nowhere,
yes,
I never thought that I'd get out of the Southeast, to be honest. But this sport has given me everything that I know, and it's been a lot of fun doing it. And
I know that I have trouble saying this, that we're this far into the next Olympics. So talk about your goals between now and in getting to what is it, Tokyo? Isn't that right?
Yes, sir. Tokyo in 2020.
Yeah.
Now, basically, my goal is to use every match that I'm going to compete in from here through the next year and a half, 2 years, or about a year and a half for the Olympic Games, as stepping stones to be able to get myself prepared for Tokyo. Now, I peaked too early in the last quad. I peaked in 2015 and early 2016, and just didn't have a good finish to the 2016 season. And now I'm making sure that everything that I'm looking forward to is to make sure that I am set and ready to go in July of 2020.
That's right.
So what that means basically is I have to make the Olympic team, which will be the fall selection match of 2019 and the spring selection match of 2020. So those are my two big stepping stones to be able to make the team first, and then have a couple practice World Cups in advance of the Olympic Games, and then just be who I need to be, and not be afraid of failure and not be afraid of success. And that's what I'm telling all my athletes now that I coach. You can't be afraid to succeed.
Well, I know your words are well heeded right there. How old are you?
I'm 29.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, don't you feel like you're about 109? I mean,
honestly, yes.
You make me.
I'm the second oldest guy in the shooting or in skeet shooting right now on the Olympic side of things. So
are you really?
Crazy. Well, I am in the U.S. There's one of my best friends, Frank Thompson. He's got me by just over a year, and I let him know it too.
Well, I tell you, like I say, one of our best guests, and we talk to her a couple of times a year, is Kim Rohde, and she's proved to everybody that it's not, you can be a little old in the tooth, so to speak. You probably never heard that expression in Georgia. Old in the tooth, long in the tooth. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. But hey, Vincent, we really appreciate you taking time. This guy just got back from West Texas, a long trip out there to be on this show this morning, and we really appreciate you, buddy. God bless you, what you do. Represent our country and the good folks at Beretta, too. Thank you, Vincent, for being with us today, okay?
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Let's take a break on Outdoors with Larry Ray and be right back. It's going to be a hard act to follow after him. Be right back.